This video presentation covers the procedure for assembling and installing a foundation pad mounting bracket in a cast-in-place concrete pad for an 82G cabinet. Mounting brackets for 82 type cabinets are available in two sizes, one which accommodates the 82A and the 82D, and another which accommodates the 82G cabinet. Manual 631-600-290 provides detailed information on the installation of these cabinets. ED Drawing 1T300-01 is included with the 82G bracket to provide design specifications and pad construction details for the cabinet. The 82G bracket must be ordered in advance of construction using material ID number 108-162-371. The bracket will be installed into the pad to provide a mounting surface on which the cabinet will be secured. Now let's construct a pad and install a bracket for an 82G cabinet. Pad construction for other 82 type cabinets will be similar. It's very important that the foundation pad be properly constructed and the bracket correctly installed to allow accurate cabinet installation and to maintain the cabinet warranty. We'll begin by assembling the bracket. Open the shipping carton and remove the instruction sheet, bracket parts, and the hardware. When handling the bracket, gloves should be worn to protect your hands from the sharp edges. Review the instructions for assembling the mounting bracket for the 82G cabinet. Lay the end plates upside down with the flanges facing up on the ground with the conduit openings facing the same direction. Space the end plates so the distance across the outside ends of the end plates is 132.5 inches as indicated in the instruction sheet. Position the long rails with the flanges facing toward the center on the end plates. The metal tabs on the end plates align with the notches in the rails. Where space is available, the bracket can be assembled with the provided rail extensions. These 4 rail extensions will extend the mounting bracket to 169.5 inches for the 82G cabinet. Rail extension can be used for both the 82A and 82D cabinets. Where end space is limited, the mounting bracket can be installed with the end plates attached directly to the form. Attach the 2 middle rails and 4 rail extensions to the end plates using 4 bolts and nuts in each rail as shown in the instruction sheet. Securely tighten the bolts and nuts using a 3/4 inch ratchet and open-end wrench. Now, turn the assembly over and install the 3 cross members. Locate the cross members, position them on the rails as detailed in the instruction sheet, attach each cross member using 4 bolts and nuts. Securely tighten the bolts and nuts using a 3/4 inch ratchet and open-end wrench. Next, locate and install the 4 concrete anchors in the appropriate holes in the end plates using 4 bolts and washers.
That's it. Yeah.
Securely tighten using a 3/4 inch ratchet. The specific location of these holes is shown in the instruction sheet.
My hand is holding this up.
The weight of the assembled bracket with extensions is approximately 175 pounds. A minimum of 4 workers with gloves is required to carry the bracket. This completes the assembly of the 82G mounting bracket. The cabinet site location is based on existing plant configurations, economics, permanency, and functional requirements such as zoning restrictions. Refer to Manual 631-600-290 for detailed information in selecting an appropriate cabinet site. Here the site has been selected and staked for the construction of the 82G cabinet pad. The width and length of the excavated site should be 2 feet larger than the proposed pad to allow room for forming the pad and installing the grounding system. The excavation should be deep enough to allow for a 3 to 6 inch base of gravel or sand and provide a finished pad surface approximately 2 inches above the surrounding grade. The trench for the grounding system should be a maximum of 24 inches from the concrete pad and 36 inches deep as shown here. A properly installed grounding system is imperative to protect the cabinet and workers. Consult local practice and work order for grounding system installation requirements. The grounding system has been designed to protect personnel from shock hazards, to protect the equipment from lightning transients and other electronic noise conducted into the cabinet. The work order will determine the location, spacing, and number of ground rods used in the grounding system. Drive each 8-foot copper ground rod into the trench 36 inches below grade. A minimum of 2 8-foot rods are required at opposite ends of the cabinet pad. Run a ground ring around the perimeter of the pad. A number 2 AWG copper wire is used for crimp connections, and a number 2 SBTC wire is used for making CAD welding connections. Here, a number 2 SBTC wire is used to complete the ground ring. CAD weld the number 2 SBTC ground ring to the top of each ground rod using a 90 brazen load. CAD welding provides a mechanically rigid, electrically superior low-maintenance connection that will not corrode or loosen. Cut 2 12-foot lengths of SBTC wires, one to ground the AC end and one to ground the splice end. CAD weld the number 2 SBTC ground wire to the SBTC ground ring using a 65 brazen load for both the AC and splice grounds. The grounding system is now installed and ready to be tested. 2 test readings will be taken, one before backfilling the trench and one after the cabinet has been set on the concrete pad. The grounding system must register less than 10 ohms for both tests to pass. If the system registers greater than 10 ohms, additional ground rods or a grounding plate may need to be added. To begin the Biddle test, attach the Megger probe to the AC ground wire and depress the 3 ohm button. Repeat this test for the splice ground wire. This grounding system passed inspection by registering 1.66 ohms. Now, carefully backfill 3 to 6 inches of compacting sand over the grounding system, being careful not to break the connection between the ground wire, ground ring, and ground rods. Level and compact the soil. Please note that conduit placement is critical in this installation and may determine whether the foundation is usable or not. After the ground ring has been installed and tested, place reinforcing bars over the trench to support the mounting bracket. Place the mounting bracket onto the reinforcing bars and center it with the end plates oriented correctly for cable entrances into the cabinet. The conduit for the power pedestal is shown already in place in a standalone mounting bracket. The end plates on this bracket allow proper placement of conduit for several different cabinets. Here you see the correct placement of the copper cable conduit for all 82 type cabinets. Place the conduit in the trench as outlined in the graphic. At the AC power end of the cabinet, install the power and fiber optic conduits. It is crucial to position the conduit following the diagram in the furnished instruction sheet for the cabinet being installed. Cap all fiber and copper conduit openings to avoid blockage from sand and concrete. Carefully backfill around the conduits using sand and compact the sand to secure the conduits in place. Remove the bracket and place it in a safe location. Continue backfilling around the conduits and packing the sand. Next, construct a form for this foundation. The final pad size for an 82G cabinet varies per work order. This 82G form measures 10 feet by 16 feet with a 3 foot by 2 foot extension for the cabinet's power pedestal. On level ground, lay out the forming materials. The wooden forms used here were pre-cut to the approximate lengths before delivery to the job site. Assemble and secure the form with nails or screws of adequate length to hold the form together. Usually 3 screws or nails in each corner is sufficient. Move the mounting bracket back over the conduits. Move the form to the excavated area and position the form over the mounting bracket. To prevent the form from twisting, a minimum of 4 workers, 1 on each corner, is required to carry the form. Using the work order specifications, measure the distance from the side of the mounting bracket to the side of the frame, from the end of extensions to the end of the frame, and from the setback line to frame. Reposition the wood frame per work order specifications. Drive a wooden stake beside the form at the highest corner to establish the finished grade for the pad. Remember, the top of the finished pad should be about 2 inches above grade. Square the form by measuring the distance between the diagonal corners. If the measured distances are not equal in length, the form must be adjusted until they are. Note the diagonal corner near the power pedestal has been marked 2 feet in from the outside corner. Secure the form at the highest corner to the stake, making sure the top of the form is at the correct height for the finished pad. Drive another stake beside the form directly across from the first one. Lift the form beside this grade stake to level the end of the form and secure the form to the stake. Check the form with the level to make sure the final grade is accurate. Now secure the form to the stake. Drive additional stakes around the form, spacing them to provide the best support. 3 or 4 on the ends and 5 or 6 on the sides should be sufficient. Level the form and secure it to the stakes in a similar manner. After it is secured, check all sides of the form again to make sure it is level and not twisted. Remove the bracket from the foundation. The foundation is now ready for a compacting sand or gravel base. The bottom of the form can be used as a gauge to determine the amount of fill required. Use enough sand to fill the excavated area under the form. Rake the sand to spread it around so it is level with the bottom of the form. Use a jumping jack to compact the base if compacting sand is used. Measure from the top of the form to the base to ensure the proper depth is consistent throughout the foundation. Shovel dirt or sand around the outside perimeter of the frame to provide extra support. Reposition the bracket in the form so the conduits are positioned in the mounting plate openings. The next task is to install the reinforcing bars. Use the ED drawing, instruction sheet, or work order as a guide and place the reinforcing bars in the form. Place all the horizontal rebar first, then the vertical or lengthwise rebar. The ends of the rebar should be a minimum of 1.5 inches away from the sides of the form. The reinforcing steel must be clean and free of any loose rust, scale, oil, and other matter which may adversely affect the bond. It must also meet the requirements per local practices. Wrap and twist tie all the reinforcing bars at their intersections with wire to secure the grid and prevent shifting when the concrete is poured. Place 7 stakes on each side of the bracket. Mark location for the stakes. 2 stakes will support each side of the mounting plate, and 1 stake will support each end of the center support. Remove the bracket and place in a safe location. Above where the stakes were marked, stretch a string from one end of the frame to the other. Drive the stakes into the ground until they are even with the string. Remove the string. The reinforcing bars must be completely embedded in the concrete. To ensure this, place reinforcing bar pedestals or bar stools under the reinforcing bars for support. Place the pedestals on a plastic square to keep the pedestals from sinking into the sand. The pedestals will raise the bars up into the foundation base. Reposition the bracket on top of the stakes and align the mounting plates with the conduit. Route the ground wires through the proper mounting plate holes as shown in the instruction sheet. check to ensure the mounting bracket is level. Check the form and the bracket to make sure they are level, that they don't have any warps or twists, and that the top of the mounting plates are slightly above the top of the form. When poured, the mounting plates should be 1/4 inch above the finished concrete. Make sure the copper cable conduits are against the metal cutouts on the end plate. Failure to do so will interfere with cabinet alignment and installation. The power pedestal bracket will be placed over the conduits after the concrete is poured. If any additional adjustments are required, they must be made now before the concrete is poured. Failure to do so could result in a difficult cabinet installation or a misaligned cabinet. Before pouring the concrete, spray water on the inside perimeter of the wood frame to prevent the concrete from adhering to the frame. Now, carefully pour the concrete into the form. Do not pour the concrete directly onto the bracket. Also, use care not to step on the bracket. Stepping on the bracket will cause the bracket to dislocate and upset the level. Rake and shovel the concrete to keep it level and to make sure there are no voids. Extra care should be taken to make sure the area around the cable, fiber, and electrical conduit, the area under both end plates and especially around the concrete anchors, is completely filled. Continue pouring and spreading, working across the form, being careful not to overfill. An electric concrete vibrator is helpful in removing air pockets and leveling the concrete. Work a straight edge, such as a 2x4 or 30-inch level, across the top of the concrete to level off the top surface of the concrete. Ensure concrete is slightly below the mounting bracket. While the concrete is still wet, it should be worked with a 30-inch trowel to settle out the gravel and bring a smoother finish to the surface. Place the power pedestal bracket over the AC conduits and into the concrete after the concrete has been leveled and has started to set. Do not submerge the bracket into the concrete. Measure equal distances from the edge of the form to the bracket to square the bracket into place. After the concrete has set, but while it is still workable, a trowel is used to smooth the surface and fine-tune the level. This step can be repeated as necessary while the concrete is still in a workable state. Setting time will vary depending on the temperature, humidity, etc. Remove any concrete or gravel from the top mounting surface of the metal bracket. Finish the edge of the pad with an edging tool. The smooth troweled surface should be broomed or brushed to provide a non-slippery work surface. After the pad has cured, remove the form and landscape the surrounding area to prevent erosion. Remember to keep the top of the finished pad approximately 2 inches above the surrounding grade. This completes the procedure for installing a foundation pad mounting bracket in a cast-in-place concrete pad for an 82G cabinet.